I am speaks of me, here, right now. Yet it also whispers of where I began and how far I have come. I am is an expression of who I am becoming and where I am headed to. I am is a declaration of me. The 2023 Beldager Power Planner comes in 4 beautiful designs to suit your personality and packed with introspective monthly worksheets and pages inspired by the beautiful traits of each month's featured birth flower, 68 coupons from food, fashion, lifestyle, and essential care brands. The vertical weekly layout, monthly calendars, and special pages on creamy 100 GSM FS certified paper is now fountain pen and watercolor friendly. Take note of appointments, ideas, and be inspired to dream and plan for a life full of joy as BDJ guides you on how to set goals and journal your desires. Explore and express who you are as you see yourself clearly, beautifully with your BDJ Power Planner. A new year comes with a promise of new dreams. This 2023, the Everything is Possible journey is coming into alignment by tuning inwards and outwards. Each month of this year's Everything is Possible journal is embedded with music found in nature, tuned to 432 Hz sounds, a well-balanced frequency that provides great clarity that you can meditate on and help tune into your inner balance, ground yourself in your reality, and manifest your goals and plan for the many possibilities in your life this year. The EIP's Forest Stewardship Certified Creamy Paper is now fountain pen and watercolor friendly too. EIP's vertical weekly layout, monthly calendars, and special pages allow you space to take note of appointments, ideas, and inspire you to align to your most balanced frequency by walking you through your vision, help track your habits, practice gratitude, guide you on how to set goals, and journal your life's abundant opportunities. Listen and allow life to happen for you. The dragon's eye stands for the balance of love, power, and wisdom, an equilibrium in your life when you make the right choices. This 2023, the Focus Journal invites you to center, choose, commit by walking you through your vision, guide you on how to set goals, and journal from your grounded center, help track your habits, practice gratitude, and so much more. Its monthly calendars and grid weekly layout give you space to plan, journal, or simply focus on small tasks or big projects. It also comes with a back pocket to keep everything in one place. With dedicated pages for monthly check-ins and journaling prompts, the Focus Journal also features crisp, high-quality, fountain pen-friendly FS certified paper. Take note of appointments, ideas, and be inspired to choose and commit to what matters most. Because life is full of choices, and finding inner peace is a personal choice. Power comes in all sizes. The 2023 Petite Planner is your pocket-sized, powerful companion. With 2 hard-to-miss designs to choose from, this planner packs a lot for its carry anywhere, anytime size. Used as a handy daily, weekly, and monthly scheduling tool, its PVC cover comes with a zipper and pockets to put in important notes, cards, or money. Just like our signature planners, set your year's vision with journaling, planning, and goal-setting guides, and easily create a gratitude practice and track your habits on the go. You can easily pull out your Petite Planner to plan for the small stuff and dream for the big things on the Petite Planner. Unleash your power.
Oh, hi, I'm Kana. Do you find yourself constantly refreshing and scanning your newsfeed to keep track of bad news? This compulsive habit is called doom scrolling, and it can trigger feelings that can be bad for your mental and physical health. While it's important to stay informed about what's happening to the world around us, doom scrolling is not a healthy way to do so. Here are a few tips to overcome doom scrolling. Tip number 1. Establish a specific time of day for checking news or social media. This way, you can also limit your screen time. Tip number 2. Seeking out uplifting or inspiring content such as positive news stories or social media accounts that promote mental health and wellness. Tip number 3. Engage in other activities such as exercising, reading a book, or playing with your pets. Learn to prioritize these activities over screen time. Find out how you can build healthier social media habits with the help of Mind Nation psychologists and well-being coaches. Book a session with us through Facebook Messenger or the Mind Nation app now.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I think it's been 2 months since we last saw each other. The last one was in March. So, hello. I don't know. Na-miss niyo ba ako? Na-miss niyo ba kami? But I'm glad to be here. And it's a special month. That's why we're doing this live once more. And this May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Did you guys know that? And of course, syempre, here in BDJ, it's very important to us to really just talk about our mental wellness because it's one of the things that is a concern for us. And we've been doing this ever since the pandemic, during the pandemic, and right now, post pandemic. And what is mental health awareness all about and why it's important? Mental health awareness is an effort to reduce stigma around mental illness and mental health conditions by sharing our personal experience. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Why is this relevant to BDJ? Why is this important to us in BDJ? Because one of the best ways that you can show your self love to yourself is really achieving self awareness. And it's being very intentional in your self awareness journey. And in this self-awareness journey, syempre part of it is really noticing our emotions. It's really noticing our mental health. So, normally or typically, I know, alam niyo naman yon, yung partner ko is si Kat Trevino. But for tonight, because may COVID pa rin, guys, kahit sinasabi natin post-pandemic na new normal na bumubukas na ang mundo, may COVID pa rin and it's a testament tonight that my partner in crime is not here. So, we are bringing someone else from her team, from Mind Nation, a mental health and climate action advocate. Let us bring in Mind Nation's marketing officer, Godwell Magat. Come on in, Godwell.
Hi, Dar. I have very big shoes to fill, can I just say? So, but I hope I do help make this really a wonderful discussion tonight. Thank you for having me. It's from being a watcher on the front on Facebook. I'm now here. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Godwell. I'm sure you'll do a great job. And ano lang naman to, sinasabi rin namin ni Nakat, it's really just a conversation. So we're just trying
Indeed.
to have more conversations like this so that people will feel like, oh, it's not something normal that we can talk about.
That's absolutely
So,
true.
Godwell, why is mental health awareness important to you?
Well, it's for a lot of factors. I guess one first is there's just so much misconceptions surrounding mental health, causing many people to suffer in silence without getting the help they need. And I'm sure all of us can say, or many of us here can say that we can count our friends, some of our friends among those, no. And this is why this Mental Health Awareness Month we in My Nation are celebrating conversations of mental health in all spaces with our campaign entitled hashtag Time to Talk. So probably some of you have seen that also on our Facebook pages and all our socials all over. Because this campaign emphasizes the importance of opening up and talking about mental health, be it to a friend, to a family member, a classmate, a colleague, and most importantly, to a professional. Because by promoting conversations about mental health, we all get to increase awareness, normalize mental health talks, and encourage people to seek the help that they always need.
Definitely. And I think parang like recently, like one of the research that I was like just reading up on is that sometimes just as simple as not expressing our emotions. So sometimes people, 'di ba, parang bakit ba ako mag-share? Nakakabigat lang sa friends ko. Maybe my feelings are not valid. Maybe the feelings are parang ayoko makaabala. I think that's the most common that I hear na ayoko mag-share kasi baka makaabala ako. And then we keep things inside. So what happens actually, in Godwell, sa research na nabasa ko recently, is that when you actually don't express yourself or express your emotions, after a while, you get detached with yourselves. So parang gets dahil hindi mo
Interesting.
ina-acknowledge yung emotions mo, after a while, hindi ka na detach ka na sa sarili mo. Then this is why it's so important for us in BTJ that we want you guys, we want our audience, we want our Bellas, we want our My Nation viewers, partners, everyone to learn how to have productive conversations like this, because the moment you stop having these kinds of conversations and not even having that space for these kinds of conversation, you might get detached with yourself. And when you're detached with yourself, what happens? You start not knowing what do you want. And the BDJ, what we talk about BDJ is about creating a life that is full of love and joy. Then how do
Right.
you start being intentional in creating that life, right? If
Right.
you don't even know the answer to what do I want,
You
right?
know,
It's so
just
hard.
wanted would just I do agree with you and just wanted to quickly point out about imagine there's that connection between mental health and knowing yourself more. And I think that's
Correct,
just
correct.
one really beautiful connection that just serves to prove how important really understanding your own mental health and making it a priority, and just how important that is, not just when you're feeling down but on a daily basis.
Correct, correct, correct. And I think that's why, Godwell, we have our special guest tonight. Would you want to
Indeed.
introduce our
I
special
will.
guest?
And she will be able to answer all the questions that you just brought up a little earlier. So everyone joining us tonight is Miss Aza Fusingan. She's Mind Nation's Chief Wellbeing Officer and lead psychologist. She is also a faculty member at the Department of Psychology of the University of Santo Tomas, where she is currently taking her doctorate program as well. And alongside clinical practice and teaching, she is also a volunteer expert for the PWD community at Las Piñas City. So, yeah, without further ado, I'd like to welcome to the screen Miss Aza. Welcome back, Miss Aza. How are you?
Hello, everyone. It's nice to be here once again. I'm really happy to be here. Hello, Dar and Godwell. I'm having this great feeling this Tuesday. And of course, being happy to be part of this platform. Just like what Dar said, there's this connection between self awareness and how we could be able to manage our mental health journey. And this is a platform where we could safely talk about our mental health. So, this is such a great advocacy, especially given the time that we have our campaign for the May Mental Health Awareness Month. So, I'm excited about this discussion.
Yes, thank you, Miss Isa. Thank you for coming again and our Facebook pages and being live to all our community members. So, Miss Isa, how does sharing about your mental health experience actually help you and other people?
Actually, in our mental health journey, this is something that's personal. And talking about our mental health concerns, first, it helps you to further reflect on your journey, where you are so far. And that kind of awareness would help you to be on track to where you want to be. It's like a guide for you and to check in whether am I keeping on track with what the things that I want to do. So it's like that. So it will actually help you to also change the way you think about yourself, to kind of reframe these self doubts that's ever present. We cannot help but to just be somewhat critical with ourselves. It's good to have like little doses of it, but if it's too much, it's not healthy. So having to reflect on these thoughts that we have about ourselves and gaining acceptance to who we are and where we are in our developmental stage, it will help you to be more intact to what you want to do and who you want to be. And talking about your journey would help increase connectedness and ease that feeling of isolation. We are social animals. We want to connect to someone. And when we are connected, again, it's not just with other people. We also have to connect with ourselves first. Because knowing about our emotion could increase that level of control. So awareness brings control. So if you're not aware of your emotion, just like what you mentioned, you would be detached with yourself. You don't have any control over this. And talking about your mental health concerns would encourage you to actively fight against the public stigma. This is what we are advocating for, to create safe spaces, knowing that mental health and mental illness, it exists. It's there, and we have to provide these people who are struggling this open platform that they don't have to suffer in silence. And with talking about it, it helps you become more willing to seek help, especially when you are struggling. As a mental health professional, someone who's helping people, I need to also keep in track of myself, because for me to provide the best service to my client is when I'm able to help myself first. So
Correct.
being more aware of these places to find for support, and then also being the bridge to help others seek for support. So that's what you can do as someone who has been like immersed in this journey, in your own mental health journey, and you could share it as well with someone you love.
Right. And thank you for that's a wealth of knowledge. Can I just say, Miss Aza? And I could relate when you did mention how um being able, for example, to listen to my own friends. You did mention you are a carer. You listen to your own patients. And to me, in my case, I'm not a carer, but I think there's been many instances where I had to listen to my own friends share their mental health struggles. And being part of being capacitated to do that is to make sure that I am well enough to be able to handle and help them with what they're going through. And I also myself find the need oftentimes to be able to share and open up to someone within about what how my day went or what I've been going through lately. And I think probably, I don't know if you both can relate, but I guess for me, even as someone working in my nation and someone who continuously learns about mental health, I still find myself from time to time struggling with having to share and make myself feel comfortable to opening up about my own mental health. Normally for me, when there are times when I would like to open up, sometimes end up preempting the situation already and would just say, "Oh, maybe my best friend doesn't have the headspace. Probably it's been too much of a stressful week for him, so I won't just talk to him, for instance." But I also do book my sessions with my nation, and there have been times when my well-being coach would tell me, why are you getting ahead, why are you assuming the situation already when you even haven't tried yet opening up. And I think, in a way, with me finding myself from time to time in these situations, I find myself having to remind myself that, okay, don't get ahead, take the first step first of opening up to someone, because who knows, perhaps they've been just waiting for me to reach out to them, for instance. I guess that's something, in a way, I could relate to what you were saying earlier.
Mm-mm.
Wow, that's really good.
Yeah. I think one of the challenges that we have right now also, 'di ba, parang although it's a bit more normalized to talk about our mental health and talk about our emotions, like more recently lang versus like years ago, right? But
That's
I
true.
guess there's still challenges with people in terms of really sharing. Ano yung parang we talk to our friends, but are we really talking about things that matter to us or things that bother us? Kasi
Mm-hmm.
'di ba minsan sa atin na parang pag ay, ang dami ng problema sa office, wag na nating pag-usapan kasi masyado ng nega, 'di ba? Or parang why something negative happened, you don't really want to relive it, you don't want to talk about it, but at the same time, because you don't want to talk about it, parang in a way, it gets buried,
Piled
di
up.
ba?
Yeah.
So, what would you, Miss Aza, what could you share, like, parang, how do we, like, I guess, overcome this natural reaction na nakakapagod din eh, di ba, minsan, to keep on talking about some, I guess, highly charged emotional stuff.
Yes, of course, with regards to talking about our emotions, it's not something that we're used to, especially with our environment. You know, some of my clients, they will have difficulty with sharing during the first session because in their family, they're not expressive. Like they don't talk about emotions. So right now, I'm gonna be like put on the spotlight and I need to talk about myself. So it's really overwhelming. But trying to start within your small groups, like with your friends, opening up with them about what you're feeling. That could be a good start. But you know, it's still different when you talk to a friend and when you talk to a professional. Of course, we want to filter some things because our friend also
Correct.
has some concern, just like what Godwill said. Like you don't want to burden them with some of the concerns that you're having. But when you talk to a professional about it, like it's a stranger, someone who don't have any judgment or biases, and of course, this is like you trying to figure things out. And I'm seeing with my clients who have been like the non-believers before, so like they don't believe in therapy at first because this and that, because we still have the misconceptions about mental health, like those who would go to therapy or who would go to psychologists or psychiatrists, it could mean that they're weak, they cannot process things on their own. Or having that mental health condition means that they have low intelligence or less capable. They cannot do it on their own. So these misconceptions that we have, still, we are trying to bust these myths. Like, you know, you could talk to someone and just try to vent out the emotion, like take perspective with what you're experiencing. It's like, you know, there's a lot of thoughts in our head and it's entangling with each other, but when you go to therapy, we're trying to put them into place. Okay? We're trying to take perspective about these issues. And I understand that there are challenges in terms of seeking for help because it is extremely personal, especially those who have been through a trauma. But you know, I'm a trauma counselor and I will really suggest you trying to, of course, take that small step towards reprocessing the experience. That's how you would heal from what happened. And you know, when we experience something intense or traumatic, it's good to have debriefing sessions after, because that will help you to release those negative energy as you experience the event. So when you talk about it, when you try to process what happened, it helps to not proceed to heavier or severe symptoms of trauma later on. So that's why if you don't talk about it, it gets just like buried under, like you just put it under the rug, and when something stressful happen, it comes out in the surface. So there would be those points like when you start therapy, I know it's difficult to when will I start, but here we are actually guiding you, helping you on how you could start with the therapy journey. It's something that you could do as a preventive measure. It doesn't mean that you have already the disorder. You just want to talk about it to take steps in order to manage the symptoms.
You know, Miss Aza wanted to share what when you were talking about um trying to keep everything under the surface, for instance. I did remember I was just watching a recent Netflix show about called Designated Survivor. I'm not sure if anyone would know that. And it's about this president who just became president of the US out of nowhere. And one of the episodes, his wife suddenly died and he had to seek counseling. He was being so resistant at first, even if he himself did try to ask help. But at some point, he did hit his tipping point, and eventually, he had to let it all out. And how losing his wife, the first lady, just made him feel all sorts of emotions, how it affected his leadership, for instance, and so on and so forth. And I think, given that example, for instance, this Mental Health Awareness Month, it's a wonderful reminder for all of us that vulnerability is a key part of the whole journey of mental health. Because if we don't allow ourselves to feel vulnerable, then we won't be able to accept the fact that there are certain steps that we need to take so we can move forward and be at a better place than where we are at the start, I would say. And I guess that also sort of is connected to what I did mention earlier about having to feel the need to open up to other people so that I can get through what I'm going through. And that even if that opening up shouldn't be seen as a sign of weakness. I think as much as um, more and more people have come to terms with that, there is still many who find it hard to believe that. But I guess this is a reminder that opening up to friends, booking that session with a professional is not a sign of weakness, but it is rather the opposite, a sign of courage of being able to take that step forward. And what you just said was a wonderful reminder regarding that, no. And I do just wanted to ask you also, Dar, perhaps, if have you had any reservations regarding being able to open up to someone or just sharing your mental health journey in general in the past?
For me personally, parang when I guess I don't know, many years ago, I think when I first 10 years ago when I first sought professional help. So medyo matagal na, 'di ba? 10 years ago. And then I guess it was more of a discussion with me and my friends. Like we were talking about who was like a good psychologist that we can talk to.
Right.
And parang naging, in a way, parang comparison, which one or parang how was this psychologist able to help us. So I think um, I was lucky that I had like a group of friends that was very much open to this. And ako naman, personally, what encouraged me to take that step. Kasi parang pwede namang people talk about it, di ba? Pero ikaw parang, baka
Right.
okay naman ako. I think I realized that despite all the things, all the successes that parang people see from the outside in social media, na parang I have a successful business, I think 10 years ago, I had a boyfriend, so I wasn't married yet. So parang technically, di ba yun yung mga checklist ng mga tao? But I wasn't really happy. I felt like there was something missing, something's wrong. I feel so stressed all the time. I felt like burnt out. Parang I
Right.
wasn't just happy in my life. So that's why I felt like parang I think I want to talk to someone just to hear a professional's thoughts on my life, on myself, on
Right.
my hanash, 'di ba? Kasi parang sometimes you tell your friends, sasabihin ng friends, maayos naman buhay mo eh. Bakit ka parang nagdadrama dyan? 'Di ba? Parang may ganon. But a professional would like look in a way beyond it and like try to see what's really behind all these things and help you unpack. Kasi minsan the reason that things are unclear to what is it, 'di ba? Parang sometimes
Yeah.
we can't put our finger on it. Like
Yeah.
what is it that I'm feeling? Why do I feel so uncertain, antsy, all of these emotions? Maybe part of the reason that parang this whole block of uncertainty and that's why it's hard to talk about is because there's a lot of things to unpack pa, 'di ba? And I think
True.
personally that it's better to unpack it with a professional because parang mas structured and then parang mas may flow
They'll
in a
get
way.
objective.
Yes, oo. So
Because
I think
sometimes
yun.
friends do mean well, but sometimes, syempre, minsan, you can't help it. Nadadala ang mga kaibigan minsan with how you're feeling, though. So, I personally, I would say that's actually one advantage of talking to a professional. The objectivity that they're able to go down straight to the root without um, without any difficulty, I would say.
Yeah,
So
and there's no emotional biases for that matter,
Correct, correct.
of
that's the
course.
right word,
Kasi
right?
your friends can commiserate with you meaning, oh, nakakainis talaga yan, nakakampi ko na yung person na yun, di ba? Parang kakampihan ka. Sometimes, what you need is not necessarily, I mean, syempre it's good to have someone nakakampi sa'yo. But at the same time, parang in the interest of being able to see things as they are, and to be able to, parang, I guess, be more objective and see everything, the professional that definitely helps.
Right. And
Yeah.
I did want to point out also how it is true. It's really fortunate you had that group of friends who could sort of help you guide you in that journey of being able to really find out who can I talk to best and all, and the steps to take. I guess unfortunately there's still many people out there who do not necessarily have the right group of friends who could guide them in their mental health journey, or don't know where to start. So this results to them
Correct, correct.
not really having the right knowledge of how to best go about what they're feeling. So we do actually have more questions regarding that, Miss Aza. Just to continue off from that, I guess, struggle of many people. And one of the biggest platforms where mental health is being talked about, where people attempt to help other people, is social media. And I get it, sometimes it's a tricky platform. So sometimes there's so much do's and don'ts in talking about mental health when it comes to social media. I did want to ask if are there certain best practices, like are there things that I can do in social media with my mental health, or are there things that I should not do when it comes to my mental health on social
All
media?
right. So the do's and don'ts in talking about mental health. Oh, this is a good question. And it's very important because we have to be responsible in our
Correct.
social media
Yeah.
use. It
Yeah.
could affect the emotions of the netizens or the people seeing our posts. So we have to be really careful. We have that kind of social responsibility for this matter. I studied about the copycat suicide behavior. So this is
Yes.
something that exists, like when you just see posts of some people who have been like having these thoughts or doing it, like those pictures, these graphic details. It's not healthy for someone who's vulnerable. And when you want to talk about your mental health, of course you just want to use that platform in the social media to share, to inspire them with your story, but be reminded that, remember that you're not obliged to share your story if you're not ready. And of course, you have to process this first with a professional. It's good to like have that guidance on what are the things that I could share, what are the things that I could just hold it in, no, because it will affect other people. It's better if you would have trigger warnings, if you would post some things in the platform, especially some things that are sensitive. And if it's like gonna include stories of self-harming, yeah, all these traumatic experiences, be sure to have that trigger warning. Emotions are contagious, so we have to share our story for awareness. Or also, there's that part where we could have this kind of Papageno effect. When you share a message of hope, it could inspire others to also be in their mental health journey and to do those practices that you did, no? Because you inspired them to take that step. So instead of like a highly graphic kind of sharing, we could focus on a message of hope, something that would help them to keep going and to know the best support whom they can reach out to in terms of these struggles. So I guess from that we could actually help someone to direct them to the right help, and at the same time to also give that person this kind of validation that you're not alone and you don't have to struggle
Yes.
in silence.
I think that's great, like parang being aware na parang yun nga, I guess the putting like either a trigger warning or just being more careful about what we share in social media. I really like that in terms of like that we not naman have to, but parang in practicing being responsible, we skew our message toward messages of hope just so that we can manage what we share. But I guess, Miss Aza, the challenge I think that a lot of people are finding in terms of share in social media is if how do they know if they're oversharing? Kasi parang sometimes 'di ba parang you're just parang wanting to release everything and just parang open up and then suddenly hindi mo na pala alam you're oversharing na pala. How do they know if it's the right amount of filter?
All right. So for the oversharing part, now we will know that we are not having filters if we have too graphic details in the story. Again, this is not just because it will help you not to put it into that story, but it could help someone as well to be guarded, especially those who are vulnerable. So it's oversharing when we have too graphic details, too intense emotions delivered, and using expletives like, these harsh words that's unnecessary. When you want to share your story, you could uh, point into the facts. And that's how we try to not trigger the emotions when someone reads that. Yeah, of course, sometimes you want to really share those tough times and you want them to like grasp the gravity of that experience, but you don't have to use these intense words that could describe the experience, and then including names of other people for the purpose of shaming them.
Yes,
That's
correct, correct.
not
That's the most important thing I
yeah,
think.
that's not something that we have to
Yeah,
practice, especially when sharing our story. Yeah,
shaming
so
other
respect
people in your
the
lives. Kahit
privacy.
hindi
Important
nyo sila
reminder.
friend.
Yes, that's true. And remember the reason why you're sharing your story and stay focused on that purpose. So, what is your intention for sharing that story in the first place? Is it to encourage someone, to set awareness, to bring hope? And remind yourself that by means of sharing, you're reaching out to someone who is also struggling. So, speak kindly. Okay? You're
Yeah,
not going to speak to someone whom you are in conflict with or to an enemy. You're not going to speak with them. You're going to speak to this person who is struggling, who is having this challenges at the moment. And
yeah,
choose your words wisely. It's
correct,
very
correct. I
important.
love that. I love what you said about the intention. I think that's the most important thing. Before we share things in social media, I think we need to look at like, why am I sharing this? What's my intention for sharing this story in social media? I think that's a very great advice, Miss Aza. Like, parang as a check-in to ourselves, what's the purpose? 'Di ba? Parang is it parang to incite emotions, maghanap ng kakampi, to have processing, to get support, to get whatever, all of these things. And I totally agree with you. And I guess I just want to underline it for the people watching and will watch this, parang yung mga hahabol sa pag-watch ng ano natin, ng FB live natin. It's just that let's be intentional also with our posts. And I think that's the best way to be responsible in sharing.
And this, I have another question just to come off from that I feel is relevant also to me as a friend, because sometimes I may mean well as a friend, but it may not come off the best way possible, depending on the emotion of, let's say, the friend who is talking to me about their mental health struggles. Is it appropriate to give advice when it comes to mental health?
All right. So actually, when someone reaches out to you and share their struggles, you could actually ask, do you want comfort or solutions? And just to be clear, where are you headed? Like, do you want to just have someone to listen to you, of course, and have that like helping hand in this struggle, or maybe we could collaborate on solutions. So, you could actually give your experiences, but you can be encouraging in this matter, not to be prescriptive or imposing. Like you could do this, and that. It works for me. Maybe it could work for you. No, it's not something that could work for a lot of people when you practice that. No, we have this personalized journey, and again, take into account that their experiences is different, and you have to help them to be an active part of their own rescue. As a friend, you'll be there to guide them, but at the end of the day, the decision is on them. Like helping them to realize what they can do in order to help themselves. And we have different battles and journeys, and highlighting that at the end of the day, we have to actually put efforts, the conscious efforts in doing this and practicing, these mental hygiene exercises, trying to, of course, seek professional help. And when you give advice, we could reframe it into a form of like giving support, not definitely advice. We would help them know who can help them, and we will serve as the bridge to get that help that they need. Okay, and always mention that professional help would still be a big part of, like resolving their struggle, especially if it's about mental health. You would be that friend to encourage them, not to impose them. And, there would be this friends who would not listen. Like you would give advice and you would not give advice, but support, and then they won't follow through. I know it could be frustrating, but also take into account that they might be having a difficulty to work on changing the patterns of their behavior. So what we can do as a friend is to just make ourselves available when they need it, but at the same time building boundaries in terms of helping another person. Okay? When you are helping at the expense of your own well-being, that's not a healthy way of caring for yourself.
Yes,
So
I
take that
think,
into account.
yeah, I think it's a great reminder also na parang to honor that each of us really have like our different journeys, and our friends, our family, people, and our Facebook friends, diba? Parang different journeys. And parang it's very important also that sometimes kasi when we give advice, gusto natin susundin. So, I think yung nagiging issue naman doon, nagiging ego siya. That, na tama kasi yung advice ko eh, so dapat gawin mo, 'di ba? But the truth is,
It's
again,
not about you.
everybody has their own journey, right? So, and it's not you, so parang maybe you can just share experiences, as you said, Miss Aza, but not necessarily like prescribe certain things that they can do. So I think another question that we have like is in joining the mental health conversation, some people may feel insecure or not feel like, hala, wala naman akong sobrang inspiring, yung grabbing mental health issue that I can use as a to talk to others about. And maybe it and again, they want to join the conversation, but they feel that maybe they don't have a strong enough story to share to other people. What can we say to them, Miss Aza, to encourage them to still join the conversation?
Actually, it's very important to consider that when you engage in a mental health conversation, we have to acknowledge that we all have mental health. And the existence of mental health challenges, no, it's there. It'll be part of our journey. And the authenticity in terms of sharing, your ways of coping in various stressors, because stress is a daily part of life, and how we cope with the challenges in life, especially the unexpected ones. That is something that we could like build on, and the story that we share with other people, it's not just something that could boost us. Again, the purpose, the intention of saying these things. Do you want to just like put the spotlight on you by sharing this experience, or you want to help other people, to inspire them that even though we don't have these challenges, we could still be able to like process things because we have that high emotional intelligence, and actually that's what therapy would help us to develop. Okay? Being smart with emotions, being able to label your emotions. So when you're used to expressing them, it becomes like a skill that you're able to talk about your emotions freely. And of course, the healthy expression is there. So we have to take note that we could take on, a lot of lessons in our experiences, and do not think that your struggles and your story is not important. Your wins, however small, it matters and should be celebrated. And also take note that if you can't share your own story because you don't think that it's something that's um, something that they could highlight, we shall not share other people's stories, right?
Yes. Tama.
Without consent, no, just highlighting
Definitely.
them. Don't do that.
It's not
According
our
to
story to
Harvard,
share.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. And according to Harvard Business Review, not sharing your I story can reinforce that us versus them narrative. As in, like, we should support people with mental health challenges, but I'm completely fine. So it's like you are not immersing yourself to the group. You're putting that kind of barrier. So when you want to be an active advocate for mental health, you would go there. Like, of course, we have different battles and struggles, but spending the time to reflect on and building that self awareness within yourself, taking healthy steps to manage your emotion, check in with your coping mechanisms, and build healthy support system. That's how you could immerse in the narrative that we all have mental health. We could be prone to mental illness or the challenges. There's no excuse, but we know how to help ourselves because we built on that protective factor.
I just
Correct.
want to point out, thanks for that, Miss Aza. I did just want to point out how there in everything you said, there's one consistent theme for me. It's that we should all take active ownership of our mental health journeys. You know, from what Ms. Aza said earlier about when you are being asked comfort or solutions. The fact that I am being given the choice to get the kind of help I need from my friend, that's an act of ownership. The kind of narrative that I can bring and share in the healthiest way possible to my friends, to other people who I feel like could be inspired by my story, that's an act of ownership also. And to have that mindset of and determination that, oh, I will get better. This things are better than the way they are right now. There's an element of active ownership over one's journey and that as well. And I just did want to point out that's a really big takeaway personally for me, and I think that's someone that could also be a really good reminder for all of us here, the need to take active ownership. And because of that sense of ownership, definitely every mental health journey should be celebrated because you're doing what you can to get through. And that's just a beautiful concept, I guess, in my mind right now, just listening and just getting my own takeaways from that. No?
Yeah. I really love the what you shared about the not sharing your I story actually affects kasi parang I think sometimes yun nga parang when we don't also share on our own respective challenges lalong nagkakaroon nga ng divide. I think sometimes people who want to join in the conversations want to join in the conversation to help but not allowing themselves to be vulnerable. So I think that's a very great reminder to all our viewers and to all of us parang who wants to join in and support carrying on this conversation that we can't do these conversations without being vulnerable ourselves. Kasi that example of vulnerability actually encourages and I guess creates the safe space for these kinds of conversations.
Also, because being sharing your I story um further humanizes the conversation. I think one of
Yes.
the barriers when it comes to mental health is that because it's not already one factor already is that it's not something that's easily seen. Kaya, like what you said nga kanina, friends might say, ay mukhang okay nga yung buhay mo eh. It's not something that's seen. And then if you don't share your own story as part of helping other people, there's a sense of dehumanization that's happening. It just stays as a concept, not as a reality. And I think
Mm-mm.
being able more than in addition to what research says or what recommendations that the professional would have, the act of sharing your own story of one story personal story really plays a big role in really saying, oh, this is normal. Even someone who you didn't think is going through something actually has gone through something, that it's more common than what many people think about it. And that in itself really does contribute a lot to destigmatizing the conversations surrounding mental health.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I remember, of course, like when you want to connect to someone, use the I statement more than the you statement. I statement would help to like take ownership. Like I feel this way. Okay? I need your help regarding this rather than just you do this for me. So there's
Correct,
that
correct.
kind
Yes,
of,
yes.
like command and trying to detach yourself from that person. So when you want to connect, express that I and take ownership with that I. I like that. Thank you, Godwill.
Yes. I love that. So I guess one of the things, Miss Aza, but before I go to that next question, guys, if you have questions, please feel free to share in the chat box,
Yes,
and
please.
we'll ask Miss Aza about it. I think one of the things people may overlook in terms of how far they've come in a mental health journey is really their strengths. Is there any advice you can give to people to, I guess, just appreciate themselves? I remember there's this quote na parang something that goes like parang we have a right now we have like 100% parang chance. I mean we have survived our lives 100% at this moment.
Yeah.
'Di ba? Kasi nandito tayo eh. We're here, we're alive, we're breathing, we're showing up. So, right now, we've achieved 100%. So, and so regardless of how bad you feel, not that we're invalidating it, but just acknowledge that where you are right now actually is a result of your journey and all the strengths. Maybe some advice that you can give so that people can appreciate themselves more.
Actually, I've been seeing this thread that speaks about malayo pa, pero malayo na. Like, you could have this particular goal in mind, but you've come a long, long way. And I want you to look
Yes.
back, to gain more perspective. Like, oh, I can't buy this stuff before, but I can do it with my own money. Like, I cannot, like, have this kind of like activity and now I could do it. I was able to build my own organization, my own foundation. So like it started like an idea, a dream, and then you are building on it right now. So looking back on these experiences and also actually trying to talk to that younger self, it would help you to recognize that oh, there's a lot of these things that I've accomplished and have these strengths within me that even though I'm not yet there, I've come a long way and I'm happy to where I'm headed. So actually, I give this activity usually for my client, and they will say, I will cry when I will write a letter to my younger self. So I ask them to write a letter to their younger self. Just like, you could take a picture of your younger self, just put it there in front of you, and then just like to talk to that younger self like you as a little kid or as a teenager, what are these things that you want to tell yourself? That would help you recognize a lot of like progress that you've made. Like before, you're just gonna uh, dream about this, and it's a reality now. So I'd like to have this as a practice, and I would share my message to the younger self. So Dar and Godwill, you would do the same. I would like to challenge you to take this, like a mini activity.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, sige. So as for my younger self, please know that it is okay to fail and make mistakes. You can cry, laugh, express how you feel about it. You may not know what you want to do now, but do not let it stop you from exploring and learning. And please do not compare yourself with others. Be reminded that life is not a race. Take it easy. Keep your focus on the now. Breathe. Live in the moment. Make mistakes, but rise and keep on moving forward. And root for yourself and know that the people who matters most to you are rooting for you too. Always. How about you, Dar and Gadwell? What do you want to tell your younger self?
Go ahead, Godwell. Ikaw na mauna.
That's a hard one to follow. Pwedeng copy paste the joke. I guess I was contemplating also when you were sharing your message to yourself, Miss Aza. I guess mine is um younger self. Life will get more complex. There's a lot more levels of downtime, but there's also a lot more elements and milestones to celebrate and to remind you that life is beautiful. And that there's so much more to learn. There's so much more to life than, and I guess it's very relevant as a young grad, as someone who graduated within just the past 5 years. There's so much more to life than studying, um, and failing a quiz is not the end of it all. I would say, and that there will really again be truly moments in life worth celebrating and would be enough to push you at the end of the day. I guess that's something I would say to my younger self. How
Sa
about you,
akin
Dar?
naman, parang what I would say to my younger self is that you're living your best life when you choose to live your best life. So, parang one of the greatest realizations I've had in the past years is really being able to live in gratitude. Kasi parang we talk about gratitude a lot, right? In my nation, in BDJ. But it's actually hard to live it. Like waking up in the morning and really say, oh my, but there's a phrase I learned over the weekend. I went to a conference. Do you rise and shine or do you rise and whine? Like whining. So, um, my message to my younger self is really just take the time to really enjoy the moments, even when things are hard, to enjoy and just be in gratitude. And I think being mindful and being intentional in your gratitude really allows you to just live and experience your best life. So, ayun.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you
Thank
guys.
you,
Meron tayong
Dar and Godwill.
question from our viewer. How do you respond to people who try to invalidate your mental health story?
All right, of course, when we share our story, not everyone would have that like accepting attitude. And keep in mind that this is something beyond what you can control. You cannot control how people would respond to your story. And well, we could take into account that they're also processing their own, or they
Right.
haven't come to the acceptance of their own experiences. And at the same time, of course, we would do feel bad about this, acknowledge, yeah, like you cannot please everyone. And of course, if there would be like lessons that they would impart to us, like, especially calling out all these like parts of your story that should not be like included, or at some point you have to be mindful of the words, we could take into account and listen to it. If it's something constructive and that would help us grow, we could take that. But if it's something destructive that would make you doubt yourself and the way you share your experience, so take the time to, of course, process them. Sit with your feelings, but do keep in mind, again, especially in the social media platform, people will have something to say. That's for sure. And we have to set our mind, condition ourselves that when we would post to the media, there would be those bashers or there
Yeah.
would be those who have negative things to say. And that's okay. Again, we will go back to the intention. You share this for the purpose of helping those who are struggling, to reach out to that person who are suffering in silence. And, they might not be commenting, but you're reaching to them. That is, alone is a consolation that you're reaching out to someone whom you want to help.
Can't be better said, Miss Aza. And thank you so
Mhm.
much for answering that question. I guess we've come almost to the end of our discussion, and I guess just to sort of summarize my personal takeaways from everything you've said, it's three hashtags time to talk. Hashtag time to talk. Talk to myself and repeat until true. I'm doing fine, and I'll get better. Second, hashtag time to talk. Talk to friends. Talk to a professional, and it's time to take that step. Last, hashtag time to talk. Don't be ashamed. Share your story. So that's my personal takeaway from everything. And just on that juncture, I just want to take this time to highlight what My Nation has in offer for you all to hashtag time to talk and do the same thing as well. Because in celebration of Mental Health Awareness Month, My Nation has reactivated its Community Therapy Fund initiative, wherein every 1 hour psychologist session booked this May will be matched with a 1 hour free, and I repeat, free well-being coach session for someone who needs support but can't afford it. Because we in My Nation believe that everyone should deserve access to mental health care support. And again, this is why we have our community therapy fund this May. And I'm happy to share that so far we have already raised over 80 sessions as of today. So it's
Wow.
indeed it's a lot of people who has been helped so far given that, and we have 2 more days until the month of May ends. So to everyone who's watching this stream, please, we encourage you to support this community therapy fund initiative by booking your session as well. You can book that free well-being coach session by sending My Nation a message either via FB Messenger, so that's bit.ly/mn-book that we're now showing it on the screen, or mynation.com/app to download the app on our website. And don't forget also to add hashtag community therapy fund to your message. Again, that's hashtag community therapy fund to your message so that you can avail the free well-being coach session provided by Mind Nation. How about you, Dar? Any announcements or takeaways?
Yeah, so sa akin really the takeaway that I have from tonight is really owning your story. So owning your story regardless what it is, it's one way to validate yourself as well. And I think the second is like to answer also the question of Celine is really parang aside from owning your story, you also set your boundaries with parang other people, healthy boundaries pa din siya. And I think that's why it's important to get support from professional help. And before we go, I can share like the other BDJ initiatives that we have. Like please do if I know we have a women group which is called the Bella Tribe. So if you're not yet part of it, please do join us there. For a goal getter group, we have You Got This PH. So it's our Facebook groups. Please do join us because we'll be announcing some journaling workshops soon. And you who knows, you might just get one for free. So please do join our Facebook groups. And before we go though, God will, let's have Miss Aza give like her final words of wisdom.
Yes, please.
All right. So remember, in our campaign in this month of May, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. We want to encourage you to talk. And of course, with talking comes also this part of looking into ourselves, talking to ourselves. Remember that taking care and understanding ourselves is a process. In our journey towards better mental health, it requires patience and compassion. You need to be kind in this journey. And it's definitely worth all the efforts when we see that we are constantly improving and thriving. And we make sure that we have this mental hygiene practices. Like on a daily basis, we would have this little therapies that we could do, and then also reach out for support. And it's best to have a professional consultation to process everything, and we could make our everyday a mental health day. So I hope that from our discussion today, it helped you to be enlightened about the help that the therapy provides. And it's important to acknowledge the inner strength that we have. Those strengths enable us to survive at this point in time. So celebrate those strengths. And remember again, you've gone a long way and you're doing good. Keep that affirmation on a daily basis. And that will help you to create a good relationship with yourself that would in turn project to your relationship with other people. Thank you so much for being with us this evening.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Miss Aza. Thank you, Godwill,
Thank you, Dar, Miss
for
Aza.
joining us. And and Kat, if you're watching us, I hope you get well soon.
Please get
And
well soon.
everyone,
Yes, well, soon,
we
Kat.
hope you guys take the time to talk because it's Mental Health Awareness Month. And please do catch us soon in our social media pages. Good night.
Nice.
Good night.
Bye,
Happy Mental Health
everyone.
Awareness Month.